How's it going, guys? This is week 1 of the Habit Change series here at Rossell Fitness. So I want to make sure that we're completely clear about what we're doing here. We are here to take massive action and get some fantastic weight loss results. And I'm not just talking about the next 6 weeks, I'm talking about results that are going to last you a lifetime. This program, this course, this 6-week journey that we're going to take together, you and I, this is about developing habits, changing habits, understanding your body, getting more clarity, becoming more aware of the things that need to be changed to get the results that you want to see. So I'm going to take you on a journey over the 6 weeks, but today we're focusing on, we've got a variety of things to talk about today. The main focus is on why we gain weight in the first place and a concept called learned helplessness. So we've got to get an understanding of how we've ended up here. What has caused you to be here right now, feeling like you want to make some changes, feeling desperate, feeling alone, feeling frustrated, whatever it is that you are feeling right now. We've got to be clear on that and clear on how to move from that place to where you want to be. And that might be a few kilos, that might be a few stones, that might be a few years of work. But please don't be intimidated, because we're going to get you to a point where you have the clarity, the awareness and the confidence to claim back all of the results that you want to see. Okay, so we're going to be covering, first of all today, we're going to be covering why we gain weight in the first place. So there are a variety of different things that can go on in your lifestyle that can cause weight gain. So for example, if you are eating more calories than you are expending, or more calories than you need to function. So we've got a basic amount of calories that we need to support our bodies, and beyond that we need to eat also when we, to counteract the things when we exercise and other things that we do. So we've got to make sure we've got this foundation of calories, but if we exceed that, then we are going to go into a weight gain state of physical being. So if you are exceeding the amount of calories that your body needs, then that is a valid reason why you might be gaining weight right now, okay? Other reasons include things like low physical activity in your lifestyle. So if you are eating a certain amount and not burning off a certain amount, so the kind of the flip side of what we talked about before, then you are going to be in a position where, again, you're in a calorie excess, and that will create fat gain, i.e. weight gain. Okay, so looking as well at stress and sleep. If you are in a very, very stressful situation, if you have high stress, high anxiety, you can put your hormones in a position where you are either unable to lose weight, or you're just in a position where you're gaining weight. And equally as well, when you're sleeping badly or not sleeping enough, whether it's the quality or the quantity, obviously that is the problem, then you're going to be in a position again where your body is not in a prime state to lose weight, and again it could put you into that situation where you are gaining weight. So you can start to see there's quite a lot of things that factor into your weight gain or your inability to lose weight. You might be a maintainer, you might be a gainer. So wherever you are right now on your journey toward being a loser, if that's what you want to call it. I've never called it that in my life. That just popped out of my mouth right now. However, if you want to be a weight loss loser, then we've got to start to understand where the gaps are in what you are doing, so we can start to essentially move you forward and build you up to a point where your body is responding. Okay, there's a couple of other things that do impact weight loss. So there's things like particular food habits. So it could be food timing, the time of day, the number of times you are eating during the day. You know, it's these things. We've got to cover all bases here to understand truly what's going on, so we can actually move forward from a place of clarity and awareness. Okay, so food timing is a factor. It could be your career, it could be things like your lifestyle outside of work. So what do you do in the evening? Do you just sit down and watch TV and kind of pile the snacks in? We've got to start to be honest about the habits that we're doing on a daily basis, and getting to know and understand exactly what is driving the weight gain, exactly what is driving the situation that you're in right now that you don't want to be in. And of course, as well, we do have to consider medical and health issues that you might have in the background. Okay, so when it comes to getting a grip on this, when it comes to understanding, and when it comes to moving forward in this course and in your lifestyle and in the results that you want, we've got to be completely honest about what is driving the problem state, what is driving the weight gain, and get to grips with the things that we need to do to break free of those habits. Okay, and then to finish off the why we gain weight section today, I want to bring the mindset into it, because essentially and fundamentally that is what this entire program is about. I'm not here to give you an exercise plan and send you away to do it. I'm not here to give you a food plan to sort of tell you what to eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner. That's not what this program is about. This program is about you connecting the dots between what's happening in here and what's happening down here. So essentially, if you can summarize the first section and summarize exactly why you're here and how you got here, it's a combination of choices that haven't added up to weight loss. So choices in your food, in your exercise, in your sleep, in your stress, in your lifestyle, essentially. So choices that you have made that haven't led you to where you want to be. I think it's fair to say that you aren't where you want to be right now, otherwise you wouldn't be here with me talking about this. So your choices and a state called learned helplessness. So I mentioned this at the beginning, and it's very, very important that we do get an understanding of what this means. And it's very, very, very common in people who have tried to lose weight before and who haven't made it. Okay, so if you've been on a diet or through an exercise program and you've been working hard in your own estimation and you've got to the end of it, whether that's 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks or however long it was, and you haven't got the results that you want to see, and you kind of get to the end and you're a bit like, what was the point in that? You know, I've worked hard and I've been doing what I've been told to do and nothing has changed. And we get into a state where we kind of blame ourselves, rightly or wrongly. We've obviously yet to determine exactly what your choices have been and where they've led you to, but essentially we blame ourselves, and we may try this diet again, we may try a different diet, we may try a different program, and every time you don't achieve the results that you want to see, and you kind of go round in a circle. You get into a cycle of dieting. Maybe you lose a little bit of weight, but it comes back on, and you go round and round and round and round, and in your own mind you develop the belief that you can't do it. So that is what learned helplessness means. It means that you believe yourself to be incapable of achieving the results in your weight loss, in your lifestyle. So eventually, when that belief develops, you get to a situation, a position in your lifestyle where you think, well, I can't do it. I'm not able to do it. It's just never going to happen for me. So you stop trying. That is what learned helplessness is you want things to change, but you don't believe they can, so you don't even try, or you just stop trying at a certain point, and therefore you fall into the trap of just thinking that the way you feel right now is how you have to feel forever. And that is absolutely not true, categorically not true. If you can start to embrace the idea right now that you can make changes, and I know that you might not believe it right now. I know that you might be in a situation where you think, I've been stuck for so long, I've been frustrated and angry for so long that it's gonna take me forever to change. And I'm not going to lie to you today, because I'm not about lying. I'm about making it clear to you what is needed to get the results. But first of all, what we need is to be able to get clear and be honest with ourselves, A, about the situation that you're in right now, and B, about what is needed to be done to make those changes, and an acceptance of the idea that you can change, a kernel of belief within you that you think that actually there's something still holding on within you that believes that something can be different. And I have to believe that too, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have seen my advert or heard about my program and thought, I'm going to invest in that because I can't do it. You know, you're here because you still think it's possible to get what you want. And I need you to hang on to that belief, because at the end of the day, without a sense of belief, without a sense of kind of drive, and without even a kernel of motivation, you aren't going to get any results on this program. Okay, I need you at the foundation level right now, here on day one. I need you to get into a mindset where you do truly believe that it is possible, because if you don't, then going through this program is going to be another one of those situations where you do something and you don't get the results, and you're going to only reinforce the fact that you can't achieve that. So as we move through the weeks, it may be that your progress is slower than you thought, it may be that your progress is faster than you thought. We simply at this stage don't know exactly how the journey is going to pan out for you. But what I do know is that if you have that belief, if you are able to find that in the depths of your heart and know that you can do this, that you are strong enough to do this, and with my guidance, with my teaching, with the knowledge that I'll share with you and the action steps that I'll give to you, know this, that you can do it. You absolutely 100% can do this. Okay, so just take a moment right now, give yourself half a minute just to reflect on that, and just to kind of let it percolate a little bit so that you start to really and truly embrace the idea. Okay, so give yourself half a minute. So when it comes to making change, we've got to start to recognize the autonomy of the way we're living our lives at the moment. So we get into habits because habits are easier. It takes less energy to do something that is habitual than it does to break a habit and do something new. This is essentially the basic reason why most people don't change their habits and most people stay stuck where they are, because changing the status quo, changing the kind of easy comfort zone is harder than staying in that comfort zone. So it's when it comes to expending energy, when it comes to expending effort, if you've had a long day at work, if you've dealt with the kids, if you've kind of looked at making dinner and gone, oh man, I've not got any energy left, I've got nothing left, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I'm drained, let's just order a takeaway. And you can get into habits like these night after night after night, so that come a few months, you end up in a position where you don't feel healthy, you don't feel happy, you've got no confidence, you've got no energy, and you are simply not getting the results that you want in your lifestyle. So we've got to start to look at your lifestyle and recognize where your habits aren't serving you. And at the foundation of everything that we do on this program, it's going to be about mental health and how the way you think affects the way you act, and how the way you act affects the results that you are going to get in your lifestyle, in your weight loss. So I heard a good phrase the other day. It's very, very simple, and it was basically just that mental health is health. If we're not healthy up here, we're not going to be healthy anywhere else. Because if you think about it, and if you really spend some time actually getting to grips with the idea of this, if you recognize that the way you think impacts the choices that you make, if you know that you're quite an emotional person, and essentially that your emotions impact your choices, then you'll start to really get this idea quite quickly. If you're less on the emotional side, it might take a little bit of time to understand this, but the way you think, the things that you believe on a daily basis, they filter into your choices, your decisions, okay? I'm a very emotional person. I know that my emotions definitely impact the choices that I make. When I'm angry, I'll make a different choice to when I'm not angry. When I'm sad, I'll make a very different choice to when I'm not sad, okay? There's a very strong link between emotions, actions, and you can obviously see that the actions that you take daily, the choices that you make, are definitely going to impact the results you get in your weight loss. So if we can start to get the idea, get your head around that idea that your mindset is the thing that is controlling the whole channel. Okay, so mindset filters into physical actions and choices on a daily basis. Your daily actions lead to the results that you are going to get. The sooner you can embrace the idea, the sooner you can embrace the idea of doing mindset work and working on your mental health, the faster the channel will start to change and the faster your results are going to come. So we have inner belief systems that have developed over years and years since we've been children. So we have a way of thinking that is very, very difficult to break free from, because at the end of the day, it's largely, at this stage in our lives, it's largely subconscious. How often are you actively thinking about the things that you are doing? I can speak for myself. I know that when I'm cooking, when I'm doing my daily things that I need to do, I'm very rarely thinking about it, because you get to a point where you are efficient enough at them that you don't need conscious thought. You know, if you look into skill acquisition as a subject, it's quite interesting. You know, new skills come at various different levels. In the very beginning, things are very conscious. They take a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of concentration. As you become more efficient at that particular thing, you start to use less and less concentration, and you start to just do it more automatically. And that is essentially how your habits develop. They become so over time and through practice. So it is through the same method that we're going to break down your old habits and build some new ones. So the biggest challenge really is that it depends on how long you've been stuck in your habits for as to how long it might take to break them down. But the first port of call, the first thing to really understand is that being aware of it is definitely the first step. If you are here today recognizing that your awareness is key in this whole journey, if you can be honest, if you can be vulnerable, if you can be aware and get some clarity around the whole situation, then we can start to break those habits down and start to build up some newer, healthier habits that actually serve the results that you want to see. Okay, so just think on that for a few seconds. You may want to grab a pen and paper at this stage and make some notes. I'm not sure how you're planning to digest this information, but a pen and paper might be a good idea. So our inner belief system comes along with something that is potentially quite a negative thing and potentially something that we don't always recognize. So we all have a voice inside our heads, like an inner critic. So it's someone chattering away in here that is saying, you can't do this, this is scary, this is intimidating, we're gonna fail, blah 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 blah. So your inner critic, or your chattery monkey, or whatever you want to term the voice inside your head, and we're not talking about you know, defined mental health situations. If you do feel that you need some extra help on this, then please contact me separately and we can talk about different avenues to that sort of thing. All I'm talking about with this voice in your head is the little voice that sends you doubt, makes you doubt things, and makes you ultimately change your actions because of that doubt that creeps in, that little kind of voice in your head that tells you that you can't do it. So we've got to start to understand and start to listen on the channel. Again, become aware, become clear on what's going on in here, what the voice is saying. Essentially, that you know, that voice is you. That voice is you in your head, doubting yourself. So becoming aware of that is the first thing that we need to do, so you can start to listen to that voice and start to change the way that you speak to yourself. That's going to become a really big part of what we do here, is making sure that you have the ability to hear yourself when you're saying things that aren't going to help you, and allow you to change the channel, to change the voice, so that you can ultimately support yourself in the changes that you want to make. If you have the kind of on one channel saying, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, and you're trying to make changes, then those two things are going to butt heads, okay? If physically you're trying to change but mentally you're saying no, then you already know which one wins because of the situation that you're in right now. The mental voice will always win. The mental voice will always tell you that you can't do it. So we need to get clear, get kind of aware of that voice and how it feels and what it sounds like and what it says, and start to undo those thoughts. Okay, so the inner voice, or the chattery monkey, or whatever you want to call that inner voice, it puts you into a state of not having self-respect, not having self-compassion, and not having self-love. It sends you to a place where you're not at peace with yourself on the inside or the outside, and it often forces us down a road where we're not living our own purpose. You know, at some stage in your life you had goals, you had dreams, you had aspirations, you had visions of what you wanted, and at somewhere along the line that got lost because you started to doubt yourself. You started to listen to this voice that was chattering away, and over time, through the cycle of learned helplessness, you allowed yourself to slip into behaviours that don't serve the purpose that you are striving toward at the moment with me. You know, you slipped into habits, you slipped into behaviours, and you allowed self-sabotage to creep in and take over your choices essentially. So it's through a combination of kind of bad habits, choices that aren't serving you, and self-sabotage over the years that send you back round and round and round in circles. But the good thing to know for today is that your hope in your heart is still there, and I know that because you wouldn't be here otherwise. So I want you to give yourself some credit basically right now for signing up for this course and recognizing that you knew things could change, that things needed to change, and you wanted to understand how we could make that happen. So I think it's fair to say at this stage that you have a set of habits that aren't serving the goals that you want to achieve. So hopefully the goals that you have right now are to become healthier, to feel fitter, to feel stronger, to have more energy, to have more confidence, to make better choices, and to ultimately be happier. And that, you know, any or all of those goals are absolutely fantastic. We will be looking at goal setting later on in the program, but today we're just going to focus on the kind of overriding idea that we want things to feel better. We want to feel better in here, and the image that we present to the outside world, we want that to be better as well. Okay, let's not ignore the fact that we are here potentially for aesthetic reasons as well, but to get those aesthetic changes, to get changes in your body, to feel that you look better, to actually look better in your own eyes, you need to change what's going on up here. Okay, so I hope you can start to see how everything that channels into weight loss, that channels into fat loss, that channels into toning, comes from the magic brain, the magic thoughts, the magic belief system that goes on up here. So we need to look at essentially what the things that are kind of maintaining being overweight. What is forcing you to stay in the position that you are in right now? What is making it so hard for you to change? And you'll be happy to know that there is a very valid, very acceptable reason why you find it so hard to change. You know, being overweight or being obese comes with a big stigma of being lazy, and in my experience as a personal trainer and as a coach, I don't think that it always comes down to that. I think there are people in the world that are obese and overweight who are lazy, but I don't think in a lot of people's cases that is the fundamental or even the primary reason. I think a lot of people that are overweight, perhaps yourself included, have spent a lot of energy, spent a lot of time, spent a lot of money on trying to change, but you've just found that you've not been able to break free of it. And it's not a case of not trying hard, it's a case of trying hard and then failing in your own mind. So I don't think you're a failure, absolutely not. I'd never call someone a failure because I don't think that's true. What I think happens is that cycle of learned helplessness where you try to change, you find that it's either too hard, too complicated, your confidence drops, you kind of run out of time, your work takes over, something happens to stop you from moving forward with it, to stop it from being a long-term thing. So I don't think that blaming yourself or calling yourself lazy or believing anyone else if they ever say that to you, I don't think that that's true. What I think is that we, through our experiences, we lose confidence to a point where we just, our self-worth, our self-compassion, our self-love and our self-belief is just not strong enough to actually move forward, to break through the barriers that are holding you back. So it's in this acceptance that we also need to look at responsibility, but we'll go into that a bit more later. So at the end of the day, I know that you didn't seek to put weight on because, that rarely is that a goal of anyone that wants to be healthy. Sometimes if you're super slim or you have a particular different goal, weight gain is necessary. But for the most part, and particularly for the people that are on this video right now, for you right now, this is about weight loss because you know that in your current state you are not feeling healthy, you are not feeling that your health is being supported by your lifestyle, and therefore obviously putting weight on is not the goal. So we've got to start to look at and accept all of the different things that can lead us to kind of stopping us from moving forward. There's challenges in lifestyle, there's barriers, there's painful experiences that we've been through that put us off. And again, it comes back to that belief system that you have about what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. But it all comes down to mindset, habits, and experiences. If you've had a long-lived set of habits that are largely unconscious, then a lot of your weight gain is probably been unconscious too. You've probably noticed that your waist belt's getting a little bit tight, and you get putting a bit more on the arms or whatever it is that you put your weight on. But largely, it goes on in the background. We're not consciously thinking about it all the time, because that would be essentially impossible. And at the end of the day, when you're gaining weight and when you don't believe that you can actually make the change that you need to do, or that believe that you can get the results that you want, we get to a point where we don't really want to think about it. It becomes more unconscious because we try and ignore it. We don't want to embrace the idea because we don't know how to change. So right now, I want you to take a moment and just take a breath and recognize that your habits have developed through you practicing them over an amount of time, but it's very, very possible to actually make the changes that you need to get the different results that you want to see. So one of the things that we really need to understand about habit change is that your brain does play a major role in being able to actually change. So the primary objective of the brain is essentially to keep you alive. So if you are alive right now, then your brain thinks that the situation you are in is acceptable. So unless you are dying, unless you are incredibly sick and incredibly ill, your body will not be encouraging you to make any changes, because ultimately, like I said before, making changes costs energy, costs emotion, costs time, and it feels like a dangerous situation for your brain. Your brain likes equilibrium, it likes the status quo, it likes the comfort zone, because it doesn't feel threatened in this situation. We are very primal beings. Human beings are very primal, and it harks back to the beings that we were once, where we were very survival focused. Nowadays we don't have to be like that because we don't live in caves and we don't have to fight saber-toothed tigers. But back in the day, we had a very strong survival instinct, and this is still with us today. This is still something that the brain prioritizes. So we've got to recognize that when it comes to survival, it's not about happiness, not about your happiness, and it's not about your health. The primary objective of the brain is to keep you alive. That is the default setting for your brain, and therefore your brain is going to keep you in the situation that you are in, even if you are overweight and even if you are unhappy. Essentially, what is known and familiar is not threatening to your brain. So your comfort zone is the perfect place for your brain to be happy and to keep you just plodding along, kind of content not to change, but essentially your happiness and your health don't play into this. So this is where kind of the two paths kind of diverge, as it were, because we've got to start to look at the brain, neuroplasticity, the way new habits are created up here, so we can actually override the brain and fight past the comfort zone, because that is one of the biggest barriers. Being comfortable, feeling safe, feeling like change is going to be too hard, that is your brain telling you that you don't want to change. Your brain is always going to fight you on change because it wants to stay the same. So if you actively know that change is needed, then you have to put yourself in a position to get a little bit uncomfortable, okay? So one of the important things to understand about your belief system is that it's largely concrete by the age of 7. Now, you might find that a little bit shocking, because I did when I first heard that, but essentially if you look into neuroscience and neuroplasticity about how the brain develops and how changes take place over time, the first 7 years of your life are the formative years where you're developing your belief system. So if by that token, if you've been overweight for a long time, we've got to recognize that potentially your belief system has been that way since you were 7 years old. So depending on whether it's been months, years or decades beyond that point, we're going back a long way potentially to change the way that you are thinking. And if you're in that safe, comfortable zone right now, again, where your brain is telling you to stay where you are regardless of your health and happiness, any changes that you try and make, any beliefs that you try and undo and replace with something else, it's going to feel unfamiliar, it's going to feel resistant, because there's a risk there. That the brain thinks that you are getting into a situation where your survival is being threatened. So at the end of the day, we've got to look at that and accept that as a reason why it can be so hard to change. And at some point we have to take responsibility for our choices, but just know that your choices are sometimes being driven by beliefs and thoughts and things and emotions that we developed a long time ago. So if you're being honest with yourself, if you're being completely honest and open, do you think that your unconscious behaviors are the reason for your weight gain or for your lack of weight loss? Or do you think there is something else going on, whether it's in your lifestyle, whether you are consciously sabotaging yourself? Because we've got to get clear on exactly what is driving your weight loss. And I would say that in maybe 80% of people, it is largely unconscious with an element of conscious, okay? Consciously, we know we're not making the right choices, but those wrong choices, if you want to call them wrong, are being driven largely by an unconscious state that we're not aware of, not in control of. We can become aware of it, and we can therefore become in control of it, but up to this point, all of your suffering, all of your anger, your hatred toward yourself, all of your unhappiness, it's being driven by an unconscious state where we're focusing on what you're not able to do. Largely, the focus on the problem state, the focus on the things that we view as problems, essentially keeps us where we are, okay? So when you look at the way the brain works, the brain is a very negative place to be, and it largely and naturally focuses on, again, linked to this survival mechanism, it largely focusing on the negative stuff, because being aware of the negative stuff and focusing on the negative stuff forces you into a position where you can protect yourself from it, okay? And again, if your brain is protecting yourself from danger, from threats, from anything that's different, essentially, your brain is going to naturally and inherently focus on the negative. So it's through this focus on all these negative things, all the blame, all the shame, all the doubt, all the worry, all the anxiety, all the anger toward yourself or toward other people, all the frustration, all the self-hatred, all the suffering that you have in your lifestyle. We've got to start to try and flip that around, because if we don't focus on health, if we don't try and come at your weight loss from a position of thinking about health, of thinking about your confidence, of thinking about your energy, then you're going to stay stuck in this negative kind of cumulonimbus, this negative black cloud that is going to overwhelm everything. If you can picture that, if you can visualize that, you've got this black cloud over your head where you're focused on all the negative stuff and focused on the problems that are going on around you. Whereas to actually make a change, to actually move forward and make a change, if we start to become more solution focused, if we start to become more focused on changing for health reasons, changing for confidence reasons, all the positive things that come from weight loss, all the positive things that come from making changes, then we've got more chance, we're more likely to actually be able to do it, because you are balancing out that negative with positive. You are essentially fighting back and not focusing on anger and not. I heard a good metaphor actually the other day. It's a gardening metaphor. But if what do you think you grow? If you water weeds, what grows? more weeds. Okay, we can't grow flowers from a weed bed. If we're constantly focusing on the negative stuff, the crap that we're feeling, the anger, the frustration, we are watering the weeds. Our mental focus, the time and energy that we have, we're spending it on the negative stuff, so we're encouraging the negative to grow. Whereas if we can focus on the positive stuff, the health, the energy, the confidence, the happiness, all the good things that come from being healthier, then we start to grow nice smelling flowers, if you're using the gardening metaphor. So if you're in a position where your choices don't come from self-love and self-respect and self-belief, then we've got to start to get on a channel where you can do that. We've got to start to bring your confidence, bring your mood, bring your understanding, your awareness, your clarity to a point where you are able to make your choices from a place of self-love, from a place of clarity, so you can move forward knowing exactly what is needed, without the doubt, without the self-sabotage, without the frustration, and actually claim back the health, claim the results that you want. At the end of the day, your inability to lose weight is the symptom of your lifestyle. Your weight is not the cause of your unhappiness. It may feel like it is, it may feel like the thing that makes all the difference, but weight is the symptom of a lifestyle that is not conducive to health. If you start to focus on the health, if you start to look into your future and see the ideal version of yourself, it's not about weight. The weight is the side effect of being healthier, of being happier, of being more confident, of having more energy. When you are happier, when you are more confident, when you have more energy, and when you are healthier, the weight loss will happen more easily. So if your ideal self lives in the future, then misery lives in the present moment today. So we've got to bring ourselves into the present and start to develop a way of loving ourselves, of believing in ourselves, so we can make better choices with clarity and drive ourselves toward the results that we want to see. So I'm going to put it out there right now, and I'm going to say your weight gain has happened over time because of what is running in your head, the story that you are telling yourself every day. Whether your story is that you can't do it, whether your story is that it's too hard, whether your story is that you've failed before so it's impossible, whatever your story is, whatever inner dialogue you're telling yourself, your weight has happened because you are running that story over and over and over again, and you have reinforced it so many times that it's become your belief system. If we can start to run a different story about health, about happiness, about confidence, about energy, about positivity, if we can change your channel and run a new story, a new movie, if we can run a different picture in your head, then we can start to make true and awesome progress with the weight loss. And like I said, the weight loss is the side effect, okay? If we just become weight loss focused, which I know is hard to embrace, because I know that's probably why you're here. You want weight loss and you blame weight loss for everything. And if that's where you are right now, that's fine. We're gonna discuss that over the 6 weeks and make sure that you understand that weight loss is a symptom of the way you think, the things you believe, and the way you act. Okay, so your weight loss is the end goal, but we've got to understand the channel of actions that happen before that, so essentially we can change the result at the end. So how do we change? We've got to get to a point where we are aware. You can essentially only change things that you are aware of. If you're not aware of it, if you're not tuned into the right channel, then the changes just aren't going to happen. We can't just hope for change and not think about it, because nothing is going to change. If we don't do anything differently, then nothing different is going to happen. At the end of the day, you are an adult, okay? You know right from wrong. You know good choices versus bad choices. You know healthy choices versus unhealthy choices. But we can slip into those unconscious, unhealthy habits that you might not be aware of. And this is where we have to raise the awareness and become more clear. And if you do this, you will be able to make your choices from a place of safety, a place of clarity, essentially, because your awareness will allow you to actually recognize the things that you are doing that aren't serving you, and it will allow you to make choices from a place and to do things that are actually going to serve you and the results that you want. So if we can look at this a couple of ways in terms of helping to understand this idea, but when it comes to making changes, and when it comes to the way you think and the way you feel and the way you act on a daily basis, we can look at the way we respond to certain situations, and this gives you a good gauge for where your mindset's at right now. So when you break something, okay, say you break a pipe in your plumbing, okay, are you going to plug the leak with like a plaster or a band-aid? Are you just going to put sellotape around the pipe and just hope that it's okay? Or are you going to actually get a plumber out to fix the leak? We've got to start to look at the changes that you want to make from a position of actually doing something that will truly fix things long term. Because, you know, over time, if you have like a leaky bucket, you know, you can keep plugging holes, but if you keep pouring in things like stress and strife, you know, you keep gaining weight, things are going into the bucket, you know, holes keep appearing because that's just what happens. You know, eventually the equipment wears out and holes will start to appear. Okay, plugging those leaks is not going to help, and at some point the bucket will just spill over. Okay, and this is a metaphor for your weight gain. Okay, if we're not able to actually fix the original problem, if you're not able to get, you know, a professional guided true approach to your weight loss, then you're going to just keep plugging holes. Okay, you're going to keep doing things like self-sabotage, you're going to keep pretending that it's all okay, and you're going to keep going on with your unconscious habits and essentially, you know, not feeling the way you want to feel. And a lot of our unconscious habits, a lot of our self-sabotaging habits are things that make us feel better in the moment. Okay, so it's things like food, things like procrastination, things like shopping, buying stuff. Anything that distracts us from how we feel potentially has the ability to derail us from the results that we want. So we learn over time that these short-term fixes, these plugs in these holes, help us, and we get to a point where we actually believe that just having those momentary moments, momentary instances of elation, or whatever you want to call it, are good enough. You know, we convince ourselves that through these pick-me-ups, whether it's caffeine or sugar or shopping or whatever it is, we convince ourselves that this is happiness, and it's not. Okay, if you have a series of coping mechanisms as behaviors that are just driving your unhealthy habits, then these are not serving your long-term health, your long-term weight loss, and they're only stopgaps. Okay, having a sugar high or a caffeine high or feeling temporarily happy because you bought something really pretty, that is momentary. Okay, it's fleeting, and it doesn't stick around, and very quickly we fall back off the cliff into feeling miserable and unhappy. And if we're driven by these, and it's, you know, I'm going to admit this to you now, I was driven by these behaviors for years and years and years before I realized, and even when I realized, it took me a long time to recognize that I was replacing one of these behaviors with another and another, you know, whether it was procrastination, whether it was binging on Netflix, whether it was binging on food, what alcohol, prescription drugs. We have many ways of actually kind of pretending that things are okay. We've got many ways of just kind of numbing the pain. Okay, if we're numbing the pain, we are not fixing the problem. So we've got to get clear on being able to recognize those behaviors and being able to actually start to break down those behaviors and create new behaviors. But being willing to give up these behaviors is a tough thing to do. Being willing to give in and say, okay, my Netflix binge problem, or my binge eating, or my alcohol, whatever you are using personally to cope with the feelings that you have, whatever you're using, it's going to be hard to give up, because you will feel like you're giving up your happiness. You'll feel like you're giving up the only thing that gives you momentary relief from the crap that you feel every day. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but what I do promise you is that it will be worth it. When you can get on a level playing field with all of this, when you can start to be clear and conscious, and when you can start to see the wood for the trees, you'll start to recognize that you can still watch Netflix, you can still have good food, you can still have alcohol, but we don't want to use these things as coping mechanisms, as things that numb how we feel. Because when you start to get clearer on this, when you start to move toward a place where you are healthier, where you are happier, you won't feel the need or the drive to do these things anymore. Your habits are often things that are knee-jerk reactions and things that just in response to emotions. We've got patterns that we've learned over the years, and they're very strong and very powerful. But when we've got clarity and awareness, we can make choices from a place of peace and a place of feeling calm. And choices allow you to interrupt pattern-based behaviors, pattern-based habits, so that we can get different results. So it can often take kind of 7 to 10 to 14 to 21, or even more than that, if depending on our kind of dedication to that habit change. But we've got to commit some time and energy and effort into making the changes. If we allow it all to be unconscious, then it's not going to happen. We've got to consciously and actively make the changes and ultimately then see the results. Okay, so we're neurologically overriding the pattern-based habit and creating a new pattern. So it's very, very, very possible when you phrase it like that, because if you can recognize that you've got to where you are right now through this process, you've practiced something, you've become efficient at it, and it's become a habit, you can also recognize that you'll be able to do this again with new and different habits. So I hope that gives you some kind of drive, and essentially it gives you some hope that this is definitely possible, and it's not just me yammering on for half an hour and not giving you anything tangible to go on. So fundamentally, you can change because you are alive. You are here, you're driven, you are alive, you are not dead. Only dead people can't change, okay? You are alive, you have the ability, you've got the consciousness to do something about your current situation. So with the right motivation, and doing the things that are needed, doing the habit change and all the tasks and things that I'm going to give you over the weeks, you are going to get there. And when we can remove things like fear, self-doubt, worry, can you imagine what you'd be able to do if you've got the right actions and the right tasks and that sort of thing, and you remove things like fear, doubt and worry and anxiety? Then imagine how powerful you could be. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to get there. You and I, we're going to do this. So to finish off today, we're going to do some positive kind of affirmation type work, just basically accepting that you are going to own your own life. That is why you are here. You want to own your life. You want to reclaim the control back. And I want you to say the positive things like, I am not going to slip off the rails, and I won't write off my health and my progress because of an emotion or a feeling or a thought. Using these directive phrases, using this directive language, this positive language, you can start to reinforce the belief that you can. I can do this, I can do that, I will do this, I'm going to own my life, I'm not going to slip off the rails, and I won't write off my health, and I'm going to claim my energy back, I'm going to claim my confidence back, and I'm going to get the results that I want. Okay, so we're going to start to focus a bit on language, a bit on self-belief, and a bit on bringing you up to a point where you know exactly what is needed to get the results that you want. And when you can change your channel into loving the person in the mirror, when you can look at yourself and embrace and love and believe and have compassion for yourself, you will find it a lot easier. You will find that operating from a place of compassion, all the choices in your lifestyle that dictate your weight loss results are easier to make. When you are not at war with yourself, when you are not hating yourself, everything becomes a lot easier. So what we're doing here is learning how to self-manage for life, and that is the goal. Okay, that is what we're driving towards: freedom, independence, self-compassion, self-love, and self-belief. That is what we're working towards, you and I, over the next 6 weeks with the tasks that I'm going to give you. Make sure that you do download the action pack that goes hand in hand with this video. You've got some homework to do this week as well, so download the action pack, and that's got some action steps of things that I want you to be doing this week before the next video. Okay, the next video will become available to you in 7 days. It's a 6-week process, so each video will become available as and when the 7 days is up. So you've got 7 days to crack on with some homework. Make sure that you've got a set of notes, make sure that you've got things in your mind that you're consciously doing. Take some action today and have a great week. I look forward to seeing you again in 7 days, and I just hope that you take it on board and truly embrace what we're trying to do here. Okay, mindset is the base of everything. Your mindset controls your actions, and your actions control your results. If that's all you take away from today, take that one thing away. Mindset, beliefs, thoughts and emotions feed your actions and choices, feed your results. So if you can start to embrace that idea and truly get on board with it, we can actually make some true, tangible changes and crack on with this weight loss and lifestyle change. Let's do it.